Welcome back. So I'm going to show you something else here, because right now the problem is we are only setting right now the actual user, but that's a problem, right? Because I said I wanted to both set the user down here when I created a user, but I also wanted to add the role or the user ID under the different roles. So I expect when I create a student, there's also a user with the reference to the student down here with the ID. So we have a many-to-many relationship, right? So what I'm going to try and do now is add that, and this is where I feel that the Firebase setup is awesome, right? So look at what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say, whenever we create a user, instead of doing this, let's do this. And let me try to explain what we're doing here. We're actually going to link together in a single call, not only updating the user here, adding a new user, but actually also updating the role, adding a new user inside the role, okay? That sounds complicated maybe, but it's very, very simple. Let's have a look here. We're saying update, I just called update user data, you can call it whatever you want. Update user data, and in that one we have two different IDs nearly here, like with the square brackets here, saying the first one is going to be roles, and then the specific role from the one that the user just picked, or the user is created with, right? And then he has a user below him, and we use the ID from the actual user that we just created inside that one. So let me just try and show you the same here. So we have the roles. This is the ID for the specific role. Under that one we have the users folder, and on that one we have the unique ID for that user. That's kind of what we're saying here. Roles, user role ID, and the users, that's the folder, and then the actual ID for the user. Have a look at this a few times if you need to. And then just set the value to true, just like we're doing here. So whenever we create a new user here, let me just try and go back to the database here. Whenever I create a new user, I just get the ID and set the user role to true. That's how simple it is. So what else do we do? Well, this is actually the exact same thing we had before. I say under users, add this new user with this specific ID and add his profile and role, just like we did before. And here comes the cool part. With a single call to the database, we can actually manipulate both, change both with a single call to the database, right? So we could add an endless set where we actually go in and update so many areas that we want to. It's up to us to update whatever we need. So let me show you what this is called in Firebase. It's called multilocation updates. Okay, and there's a lot about it here. You can go and watch. You can go with this blog if you want to get info about it. It's kind of old, but it works like a charm. I think this is a really great feature. Let's see it running actually. So going back to our application here, let's just create a user. So I've created a user, and notice he's an educator. I'll press save. The user is now here, and let's look at Firebase if it actually updated both places, and here you'll see there's a new user here under educator. That is true. And there's also a new user here created with the specific role of educator and the educator ID. We need those to match, right? XF, XF, and here we have 7W1 and 7W1. So notice how simple it now is to actually update our database even though we have redundant data. So that was the goal of it. See you in the next lesson where we will try and also be able to delete this setup. See you next time.